Law of inner control. Master what you can, release what you can't. Self-doubt begins the moment we hand control of our emotions to things beyond our reach. The opinions of others, uncertain outcomes, or the fear of failure. We constantly wonder what people think, how situations will unfold, or whether we'll be accepted. But the more we focus on what's outside our control, the weaker we feel inside. The Stoics understood this truth deeply. Peace and confidence come not from controlling the world, but from mastering yourself. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Some things are up to us, and some are not." This simple principle forms the foundation of inner strength. What's within your control are your thoughts, choices, and reactions. Everything else, the behavior of others, the results of your efforts, or the twists of fate, lies outside your influence. When you stop fighting for control over what you can't change, you free yourself from endless frustration and self-doubt. Think about it. Most of the anxiety and insecurity you feel comes from trying to manage things that were never yours to manage. You can't control whether others approve of you, but you can control whether you live by your own values. You can't dictate every outcome, but you can choose how you prepare and respond. Once you shift your focus inward, you reclaim your power. This doesn't mean you stop caring about results or feedback. It means you stop being defined by them. Your worth is not determined by external success or failure. It's built from how you handle both with calm and integrity. When you master your mind, external events lose their ability to shake you. The law of inner control teaches you to anchor your peace in your own discipline, not in circumstances. Each time you choose patience over frustration, composure over panic, and purpose over fear, you strengthen your inner world. That's where real confidence is born, not from controlling life, but from mastering yourself. The world outside will always be unpredictable. But once you learn to control your thoughts, your emotions, and your reactions, nothing outside of you can truly disturb your peace. That is where self-doubt ends and true power begins. 2. Law of discipline. Consistency builds confidence. Confidence is not something you wish for. It's something you earn through consistent action. The Stoics believed that true confidence doesn't come from motivational words or fleeting feelings. It comes from discipline, the daily practice of doing what you said you would do. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you strengthen your self-belief. Each time you follow through despite discomfort or doubt, you teach your mind that you can be trusted. Self-doubt grows in the absence of action. When you delay, procrastinate, or avoid challenges, your mind begins to question your strength. But when you take consistent steps forward, even when it's hard, that voice of doubt starts to fade. Discipline builds evidence, and evidence builds confidence. You no longer need to convince yourself you're capable. Your actions prove it every day. The Stoics saw discipline as the highest form of freedom. A disciplined person isn't controlled by impulses, moods, or fears. They are guided by purpose. When you commit to a routine, a goal, or a set of values, and follow them daily, you create stability within yourself. You stop being swayed by external noise or inner hesitation because your actions become stronger than your emotions. Discipline transforms chaos into control. It replaces uncertainty with direction and turns fear into focus. Over time, it becomes a habit, a way of living that reinforces your self-respect and inner strength. The more consistent you become, the more your self-doubt disappears. Confidence, then, is not arrogance or luck. It is the quiet, unshakable belief that comes from discipline, from knowing that you can depend yourself no matter what life throws your way. 3. Law of perspective. See setbacks as teachers. When life doesn't go as planned, the first reaction is often self-doubt, that quiet voice saying, "Maybe I'm not good enough." But the Stoics taught that failure is never proof of weakness, it's part of the training. Every obstacle, mistake, or rejection is a lesson disguised as difficulty. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means every setback is not blocking your path. It is your path. Challenges test your patience, sharpen your discipline, and strengthen your mind. Without resistance, there can be no growth. When you start seeing failure as feedback instead of defeat, your entire mindset changes. You stop taking things personally and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" With that shift in perspective, pain turns into progress. Each time you rise after a fall, you become stronger and calmer. Why? Build the kind of resilience that cannot be taught, only earned through experience. The Stoic doesn't run from struggle. They embrace it, knowing it forges their true power. What once made you doubt yourself becomes the very thing that builds your confidence and wisdom. 4. Law of detachment. Stop seeking validation. One of the greatest sources of self-doubt is the constant need for approval. When your sense of worth depends on how others see you, you become a prisoner of their opinions. A compliment lifts you up, but a criticism tears you down. The Stoics understood this trap well. They taught that true freedom begins the moment you detach from the desire to be liked or validated. You cannot control what others think or say about you, but you can control how much power you give their opinions. Most people judge through the lens of their own insecurities, experiences, and biases. Their praise or criticism often says more about them than about you. When you live by your vow, instead of chasing validation, you free yourself from emotional slavery. Detachment doesn't mean indifference or arrogance. It means peace. It means knowing who you are and standing firm in it, even when others misunderstand or underestimate you. When your actions align with your principles, you no longer need external applause to feel worthy. Your integrity becomes your strength, and your calm becomes your confidence. The Stoics taught that a person ruled by opinions is weak, but one ruled by purpose is unstoppable. When you stop performing for approval and start living for truth, you find inner stability. You begin to realize that silence, humility, and consistency speak louder than any need for recognition. True confidence is quiet. It doesn't shout to be seen. It stands firm in authenticity. Detach from the noise of opinions and focus on being true to yourself. The moment you stop seeking validation, you stop doubting your worth, because you finally understand that value was never dependent on anyone's approval. 5. Law of awareness. Control your inner dialogue. The most powerful voice in your life isn't from the outside, it's the one inside your head. Your inner dialogue shapes your confidence, your emotions, and your decisions. If that voice constantly criticizes, doubts, or fears, it slowly destroys your self-belief. The Stoics understood this deeply. They practiced self-awareness as a way to master the mind and free it from destructive thoughts. Self-awareness begins when you start observing your thoughts instead of obeying them. You don't have to believe every negative story your mind tells you. When you notice a thought rooted in fear or self-judgment, pause and question it. Is this true? Is it helping me grow? Most of the time, it isn't. Replace those thoughts with clarity, honesty, and purpose. Your thoughts are like seeds. What you nurture grows. If you feed your mind with strength, gratitude, and discipline, confidence be your natural state. You are not your fears. You are the awareness that observes them. 6. Law of acceptance. Embrace imperfection. Perfection is an illusion that feeds endless self-doubt. The more you chase flawlessness, the more you convince yourself that you're never enough. The Stoics understood that no human being is without fault. Mistakes and shortcomings are not signs of weakness, but proof that you are alive, learning, and evolving. True growth begins the moment you stop judging yourself for being imperfect and start accepting yourself as a work in progress. When you demand perfection, you create a mental prison of pressure and fear. You become afraid to try, afraid to fail, and afraid to be seen as less than ideal. But when you accept imperfection, you liberate yourself. Acceptance doesn't mean complacency. It means having the courage to face your flaws without shame, to learn from them, and to keep moving forward. The Stoics taught that real strength lies in not in outcome. You cannot control whether every action leads to success, but you can control your intention and persistence. When you focus on doing your best instead of being the best, progress becomes natural and peace follows. Every mistake, every setback, every imperfection is part of your journey toward mastery. The cracks in your character aren't weaknesses, they're openings where wisdom enters. Each flaw, when faced with honesty, transforms into a source of strength. When you embrace imperfection, self-doubt begins to dissolve. You no longer measure your worth against impossible standards or other people's opinions. You learn to value yourself not for being flawless, but for being authentic, resilient, and willing to grow. Remember, perfection doesn't build greatness. Consistency, humility, and acceptance do. Embrace who you are, flaws and all, and you'll discover a peace and confidence that perfection could never give you. Law of purpose. Live by principles. Emotions. The final Stoic law to conquer self-doubt is purpose. Life is full of uncertainty, change, and emotional turbulence. If you allow your mood, fear, or the opinions of others to dictate your actions, self-doubt will constantly resurface. The Stoics taught that true strength comes from anchoring yourself in unwavering principles, values that guide your decisions, shape your character, and give your life meaning. When you live by purpose rather than emotions, you no longer seek external validation to feel secure. Your confidence comes from within, from knowing that every choice you make aligns with your values. Honesty, discipline, courage, and integrity become your compass. These principles don't fluctuate with circumstances or feelings. They provide stability when the world around you feels unpredictable. Purpose also gives direction. Without it, doubts and fears can paralyze you, leaving you uncertain about your path. But when you act according to your principles, step, even in the face of failure or criticism, becomes deliberate. You move with intention, and self-doubt loses its power because your actions are rooted in truth rather than fear. Moreover, purpose transforms challenges into opportunities. Obstacles are no longer setbacks, but tests of character. Every trial becomes a chance to live according to your values and strengthen your resolve. By prioritizing principles over impulses, you rise above distractions, doubts, and emotional chaos. The Stoics understood that a life without purpose is vulnerable to insecurity. When you define your path through values, self-doubt has no place to exist. Purpose is your anchor, your compass, and your shield. It empowers you to face uncertainty, remain grounded, and cultivate unshakable inner confidence. Live by your principles, and you will find that self-doubt fades, replaced by clarity, strength, and unstoppable momentum.